Well, also, HIPAA violation?
Hey, get in here. Dallas is about to start.
Welcome to the Ewing Barbecue, where it's not always sunshine and popsicles. My name is Mary.
And I'm Josh, and I would like to say that they should be mango popsicles if they're going to be popsicles.
Ew.
And I'm Melanie, and I personally believe in sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows.
Yeah.
And Skittles.
And Sarah is missing tonight.
Sarah is off tracking down a lead
Right.
in the search for Christopher's father.
Yeah. She's personally typing everyone's blood.
Yes. Blood.
Or retroactively DNA testing everybody, because this would have just made this go so much faster if we had that back then.
Yes.
Anyway, I would like to thank our Patreon members, Brendan Fillick, Captain America, Sheen Pye, Lauren Bernheim, Brad Mulholland, Anita Wren, and Kristen Carlano. They went to patreon.com and got access to listen to outtakes, listen to extra little episodes, and listen to our book club, which we are reading Dallas by Lee Raintree. We have 10 chapters on there now, and each chapter is like 20 to 30 minutes long. So it's like a book on tape, folks. So if you're interested in that, go to patreon.com/EwingBBQ.
It's like reading erotica. It's like
Oh my
Ewing
God, yeah.
erotica.
I read the last chapter and it was kind of gross. It was Jock having sex with this lady, and there was a whole thing about like she pushed her black bush in his face. Like it's a thing, man.
Oh, God.
I'm telling you. Yeah. And then they got into a fight in the middle of sex, and like Jock slaps her, and then that turns her on. Like it's a whole thing. So,
Wow. Wow.
Anyway, and this also happens the day Bobby's born. Spoiler
I always
alert.
knew Roberta Lessing was dirty little hoe bag. Yeah.
Is she in the series at all, or is she just in the book?
No, just in the book, and she's the Lessings, Roberta or Joanna Lessing, is referenced in the song "Who Killed Jock Ewing," sung by Steve Canale on the Dallas Music Story.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So today is
cool.
August 23rd, and we want to send a special birthday greeting out to Barbara Eden, Miss Leanne de la Vega, who turned 91 today. And I'd never realized until recently that she was about a month older or so than Larry. I always assumed she was younger.
So
but
like the same age?
Yeah.
Okay.
Both born 1931. And I just saw this the other day. On Tuesday, September 27th, at 1:30 p.m. at the PNC Bank Arts Center in New Jersey, our own Deborah Renard and Al Sapienza are going to be performing the soundtrack of our lives, which is basically just a collection of songs that they sing together. And anyone in the New Jersey area might want to look that up. It's on her Facebook page and her Instagram. If that's Deborah Renard, don't remember her. Cool. Everybody remembers Sly.
Yeah. Everybody knows Sly. Cool. Awesome. Well, tonight we are talking about Season 5, Episode 10, Episode 87 of the series, Starting Over.
Why are you angry?
I need a baby. I can't have one. I can't adopt one.
JR has taken out some very large loans. And with the price of oil dropping...
You think he may default?
I gave you everything I had. I haven't seen the baby. It's going to cost you an extra $5,000. The baby turns out to be legitimate, you get $30,000.
You can't sell your crude. Can't afford to keep it. Enjoy your 10 days, JR. Because after that, there's not going to be any more JR Ewing at Ewing Oil.
It was written and directed by Leonard Katzman. Aired December 11th, 1981. The number one Billboard hit in the U.S. on this date was still Physical by Olivia Newton-John, R.I.P. The number one film in the country was, once again, Raiders of the Lost Ark. It had gone down in the ratings and then shot back to number one during its 26th week of being released.
Which co-starred Karen Allen, who appeared on Knots Landing.
Yeah, sweet. Top news stories this week. On this actual day, this same night, was Muhammad Ali's last ever fight.
Really?
And he lost to Trevor Berbick. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yep. And then there was also a mine explosion in Whitwell, Tennessee that killed 13 people. It's a pretty big deal. And born on this very day, December 11th, 1981, born was Rebecca Brunson, who is a WNBA basketball player and coach. Jeff McComsey, who's a graphic novel author and illustrator. Kevin Phillips, actor. You might know him from Shameless, Law and Order Criminal Intent, Cookout, or Notorious. And Zachy Vengeance, who is a guitarist for the band Avenged Sevenfold, who I don't know. It doesn't look like my type of music, but he was born today.
Heard of them. Well, good for them.
Nope. Yeah. And on Dallas.
On Dallas, this episode actually came in number 2 in the weekly ratings. We're a little slippage going on here. Edmund Gilbert, who played Paul Winslow, the stockbroker, was also played Sean Cassidy and Parker Stevens' father on the Hardy Boy Mysteries. And co-star Bruce Gray, who appeared in this episode in a role that's not listed in my booklet here, plays Dr. Alan Cosby. Returned to Dallas in episodes 234, 323, 351, and 354 as different characters. So just them recycling actors on the show in different roles, which they were very good at. And this is the last episode as a regular for Jared Martin, who also did make appearances in 4 other seasons, including the penultimate episode of the original series. And that's all they wrote in that book for now.
Cool. Well, we open on South Fork. Someone is leaving as Bobby walks out to breakfast to see Pam sitting by the pool.
That was a different angle on the departure from the ranch. Nice change of the camera angle.
It was.
Shooting from the from angled from right to left as the car pulled out and drove away.
Yeah. I'm going to assume it was JR maybe leaving for work.
Yeah, that was his car.
Oh.
Yeah.
It was JR car. Okay. I'm going to be honest, I'm terrible at recognizing cars, so
okay.
Yes, it was JR leaving. So yeah, Bobby walks out, Pam's sitting by the pool staring into space like Pam has been doing. Oh my god.
Just looking at you through those crazy eyes.
And Bobby's like, hey. Yeah. He's like, so it's time to go back to the hospital. And she doesn't want to go back.
I don't want to go back to the hospital. I can hear it now.
Right. It's like, girl. All right.
He's being the voice of reason again, finally, and good for him. It's the safest thing for her right now.
Right.
Yes. Totally.
She's not too far removed from trying to do a faceplant off the roof of the building.
Right. And she's literally staring off into space and just being kind of obviously like not well. So then she's like, I don't want to go back. He's like, but you probably should go back because I think you need to. So luckily he talks her into it.
Yes. And she should go back and tell Dr. Conrad how she feels. You know, if she thinks yeah. Pam, you're not well, woman.
No, she's really not. So we cut to Ewing Oil.
JR's drinking coffee. He's not drinking alcohol, unless he's put a little nip in it. Unless he's having Irish coffee.
There's a good chance.
With all that he has going on, it would be well advised for him to be drinking Irish coffee with all of his troubles.
Or just coffee, because he needs to actually figure shit out. He needs to not be day drunk today, because he has shit to do. He has
so much for the functioning alcoholic.
He's dug himself in a hole.
Mm-hmm. Right. I like how Jordan and Vaughn just they call JR's bluff, and Vaughn does a total mustache twirl moment as he's walking up. There's not going to be any more JR Ewing. That whole kind of.
Totally. Yes. Oh my god.
They were in on that whole thing about Ewing 6 the whole time, which is so great to see them.
JR whips it out guess what? Hey, did you know Cliff Barnes sold you out? They're like, yeah, that was his plan the whole time. We told him that it was stupid, that you're not dumb enough to fall for it, but I guess you are.
So when JR looks up like that at the ceiling, that's not the first time. Maybe it is the first time he's done it. It's definitely not the last. I'm like, when he looks up at the ceiling, I'm like, is that motherfucker praying? Like, is he like, what is, yeah. Have you ever noticed when he does that? Spoiler, he does it when on the spoiler, but he sits back and he's like kind of looking up at the ceiling, and I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Why are you looking at the ceiling?
I think it's him being introspective, honestly. I think that's him like actually being like, oh shit.
I never noticed it. It's like, that's an interesting.
We don't notice the ceiling because on the ceiling he actually has a tic-tac-toe board, and he's playing tic-tac-toe on the ceiling. So he's got different games drawn on the ceiling. So he's just kind of looking up and going,
or like chess, like in the Queen's Gambit. Yeah, if anybody
exactly. Because we don't know what he's looking at on the ceiling.
No, I think he's actually. I mean, he could be praying. I don't know. I've never actually thought about that. I can't believe that JR would. Maybe, who knows? But he's definitely
praying
being
to Satan. Yeah, he's having those are his worry moments. Like, am I in over my head here? No, I'm J.R. Ewing. I'm not in over my head. I don't get ulcers. I give ulcers.
Right. Yeah. He keeps thinking he has the upper hand, and they're putting him in his place, and then they like, wah, and then leave.
I love whenever Jordan enters an office, he just has that casual little like saunter in, just kind of looks around. He has that meat.
Jordan is just constant chill. Like that dude, yeah. I think he smokes a lot of weed or something. He's got a constant chill going.
He might have one of those cannabis farms in his yard.
Maybe, I don't know. He's just
that's what his wife does all day. Why we never see her? She's the cannabis caretaker.
Maybe. So then we cut to Dusty, and he's been getting up super early before sunrise to ride his horse every morning. So Stone's hardly been seeing him.
He's trying to jumpstart his body and his dick on a horse so that he can.
He definitely is.
Get himself.
Yeah.
And he's hobbling up to the table, and he says to them, "Oh no, I feel great."
And Sue Ellen's worried that she's going to lose him because of his quote-unquote stubborn male pride. Yes. I feel like stubborn male pride is a whole,
it's a
thing
theme.
This episode.
Yeah. Oh my God. I wrote the same thing. I said, I see a pattern here. Men trying to prove their manhood, and they could give a fuck about their wives and girlfriends and how much they love them, just as they are.
Right,
but using it as an excuse, like, well, I have to do this because of my wife / girlfriend. It's like, but
you really don't. No, and Sue Ellen, like, she's intuitive on some of this stuff. Like, she knows. She knows. Like, she knows it's over. She's already calling it. Like, she knows they're in trouble.
I know.
And when she's made up her mind, like, that's it.
Yeah.
Right, and as no sooner does she say "stupid male pride" than I wrote. Speaking of stupid male pride, we cut to Sweaty Ray chopping wood in his yard with another issue of male pride.
Oh my God! With an oiled up chest, drink. Yep. He has an oiled up chest. Got a drink. It's been a while.
Yes.
And that's straight from the Ewing Oil Reserve, right?
Oh yeah, he got the bottle out of the closet, lubed up.
Yeah. That's from the field Ewing 69.
And Donna's like, dude, what are you doing? It's super hot outside, and it's not like it's literally not going to be a cold winter. Why are you chopping all this wood? And then at first she's just like, I just like to exercise, and she just calls bullshit. She's like, can we just talk like a couple, like married people? Like, and then she gives this whole backstory, like, I used to just shove food in my face every time that I felt overwhelmed or whatever. And then I realized I should. And then she says,
I was a fat child.
I was a fat little kid. I'm like, oh, okay, Donna. But then she's like, then I learned to talk to people about stuff, and then it helps me, and it can help you. Oh my God.
Wah.
It's like an infomercial right there.
Yeah. It really is for like to talk therapy. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Welcome to our after-school special.
Yes, this is as if we this would be really good if we had a sponsor, Talkspace. We would be great for that because we could be like, Ray needs Talkspace.
Yeah.
So anyway, she's like, we're married. You should be able to talk to me. What the hell? And he's just basically like, yeah, I can't do it. I need to like talk to a dude. I need to talk to Jack. And she's just kind of like, okay, cool. But you know what? I wish you had more faith in me. And then he gets all like mad because of that, which is like.
And then he chucks that beer can. Ooh.
But
like, you can't be mad, Ray. Like she's offering a lot to you right now.
she really is. But he's basically like, I want my daddy. Like, I'm going to throw my can.
Look, I get it.
She doesn't have the jock cock.
She definitely doesn't.
No.
Well, it's also just, again, stupid male pride. He doesn't. I don't think a lot of the men did not understand that their marriages are partnerships, and it's about supporting each other and building each other up. It's not necessarily about finances or, decisions or anything like that. Be a sounding board.
Or competing to see who's more successful.
Yeah, being a sounding board, somebody to bounce ideas off of.
They're more in competition with each other than they are married and supporting each other. Because he gets
John and Ray?
Yeah, it's like
only on Ray's part.
Well, he's competing. She's not. She's just living her life, being awesome.
Yeah, and he gets jealous whenever she has a success, and then he is met when she has a success. He's met with a failure, just to kind of show the opposites.
So this is where they always say like this was like a chauvinist show, but this is where I counter that because I think it's showing chauvinism, yes, but it's showing how toxic it can be and how it's negative and it's affecting his marriage and how like maybe you shouldn't be that way because look, you have an awesome wife. Fucking talk to her, Mm-hmm. So
he's too busy oiling his chest and worrying about money.
He really is. And JR is also worried. And he wants Sly to get a hold of Mr. Paul Winslow in New York City.
And for our listeners, that is someone that he met through Leslie Stewart, is a stockbroker who wanted to take Ewing Oil public.
I was happy for that reminder.
And now JR is throwing a Hail Mary.
Mm-hmm.
He's throwing a Hail Mary.
Yep.
Well, and you know what?
Not our Mary.
It's so funny because he thinks that
hail me.
He thinks he can get his company public within 10 days. Like it takes time, dude. You gotta file with the SEC and get this and that and the other thing. So this is gonna be fun. Like he's expecting to go to New York and throw stock on the market. I need money right now. Like, dude, really?
Right.
You're an idiot.
It's just that easy.
It's so
just
easy.
Throw it up there.
Yeah.
Give me $500 million. Like, okay, buddy.
Oh my God, this reminds me. Do you remember those Pace commercials or Old El Paso or one of those salsa commercials where they'd be like,
New York City?
Yes. J.R. Ewing is literally salsa in New York City right now. Like he's out of his element.
Uh-huh. Oh my God, that is so. I love that comparison. JR is salsa.
He is. Good. He goes in and be like, I'm fucking J.R. Ewing, and you're gonna make my company public, right?
And they're like, what? Who?
No,
that's not happening, buddy. Yeah.
Are you
Nope.
Are you J.R. Ewing? Is that another stockbroker? Are you a Wall Street person? How would I have heard of you?
Exactly.
That name doesn't ring a bell. But Quasimodo does.
And then Bobby goes to see his friend Alan Crosby, MD, which I like Crosby because it's about that whole storyline. It's a little throwback to Mary Crosby, maybe.
It was actually Cosby, Cosby.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, I was trying to read his little nameplate. So this is why HD will be really good.
And I just confirmed it with the book. It said Dr. Alan Cosby. You put the pudding in the poo-poos in the pretty business.
No Bill Cosby jokes. We don't talk about him.
I think so. Bobby said that they went to college together. Is that right? That's how they know each other?
I didn't get that they established
their friendship. They established that they had been friends.
Right. I just didn't get where, but...
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I was just assuming college, but I don't know.
That's where everybody comes from.
Bobby made a very weird comment. Like, he was like, I wish it was me. Remember? Like, because he was like, Bobby, are you in trouble? And he's like, no, I wish it was. And it was like, that's a weird thing to say. Like,
it is. Like, Kristen tried to get that to happen, remember?
Yeah.
Like, that was a thing she really wanted to happen.
I was like, well, you might end up with a baby for Pam to adopt. Oh, spoiler.
Oh.
Spoil.
What?
What?
You're cutting that.
But anyway.
Foreshadowing.
This Ellie guy can't be convinced that it's not Bobby. Like, he's like, it's not me. It's not about me. It's a friend of mine.
Right. That's like always. I'm asking for a friend, which means that friend is myself.
Right.
But he lays out the interesting scenario that the mother had. Say the child had AB blood and the mother had A, and would the father have B? Well, how do you run these tests? And he's going over some medical jargon to explain the testing and the determining what's not likely to be the father's and blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. So medical jargon. Blah, 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 blah.
Medical jargon. And he basically concludes that, like, if the baby is if someone has type B, they very well could. There's a pretty high chance they could be the father, but it's also really like or not, because there's so many things that can be a thing.
RH factors and all this other.
Then we got to Brooktree, where Pam was in therapy, and girl is not happy to be in therapy again.
No,
because she just keeps asking her questions like, "How did you feel leaving South Fork?" And she's like, I wasn't happy. Meh.
But we did learn that she understood why her mother left her, and she's not upset about that.
But she doesn't even like explain. She's like, I understand why, and so I forgive her, and so, but the doctor doesn't follow up question like, so why was that or whatever. She's just, I think she's saying what needs to be said to get the fuck out of there is what she's doing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And she could talk till doomsday, and it will not change the fact that talking is not going to give her a child. She's like, I can't have a baby and I can't adopt. And we're going, Pam, you can adopt. You're just impatient.
Okay, I wrote that down. Neither of those things are true. She totally could have a kid. They told her she's very likely to be able to have a kid. She just has to basically try. There's a chance she could miscarry again. She could try. And she also can totally adopt. You just have to, like, put your name on a list. You have to be like all the other people and put your name on a list.
You can't jump to the front of the line.
Just do that. Right. If you just do that, then you could totally have a kid. You're Ewing. You would 100% get a kid. You just have to be patient. But the problem here is instant gratification, which I think is like a red flag in this situation, because it just, I think, means that that's not really the problem, because she could easily solve this problem, but she's not solving the problem.
Right.
Like, not even considering it. So I don't know. I think it just shows like how angry she keeps getting when the doctor's asking her questions. Proves girl still has a huge problem.
Mm-hmm.
And she should not be allowed out.
Spirals.
Yeah,
Sure. I mean, it's like Sarah was saying a week or 2 weeks ago, like, who in their right mind is, Pam's like, I want a baby, I can't have one, but like, who in their right mind is going to let you adopt one right now when you're sitting there ranting and raving about it? Like, you're still not okay.
Trying to jump off a building?
You don't seem very safe. Yeah, you don't seem very safe to put a baby in, No, I wouldn't give a baby to Pam
like,
right
she's
now.
going through like the
crazy.
5 stages of grief kind of mixed up and backwards. Like, she's still not okay.
Yeah.
Do not give this woman a baby. Not yet.
Yeah, no.
She was just on the top of her building about to jump.
Yeah. Yes, she was.
Leave the kid an orphan. Or half orphan.
Yeah. Exactly. Anyway, so then we cut to Ewing Oil, where Bobby finds out JR went to New York.
A little surprised.
And then he's like, oh, okay, Phyllis, can you pull our health plan? And she's like, sure. So she pulls it. And I just want to say, like, I don't think health plan information usually includes, like, the doctor's notes.
No.
That seemed a little weird to me. Because he pulled up, like, literally, like, the doctor's notes from JR's like physical exam from 1976, which it was July 14th, 1976.
Oh, Bastille Day.
By the way. Is it Bastille Day?
Happy Bastille Day. Turn your head and cough, Mr. Ewing.
Right. And it tells, so we get some information about JR in this, by the way. We find out in 1976, he was 42 years old.
Interesting.
Which means he was born in 1934. So he's older than I think he was supposed to be a little bit. And the only meal that he eats regularly is dinner with his family, which I think is funny because I'm sure all of his other meals are basically liquid lunches.
That was funny. Like the only meal I really eat is dinner.
Dinner with my family. Whatever.
And most of his meals are liquid bread. We learned that he's a blood type.
Yep, type B. Dun, dun, dun.
Now, I want to ask our listeners, somebody can go back to Paternity Suit when we learned that JR was the father of John Ross, because he had the whole thing with Cliff and they had the same blood type. Part of my brain wants to say that O came up, but I haven't gone back to look. I just like somebody to go double check that if they have an opportunity.
I'm going to check my notes. I bet that I still have my notes from that one.
Because if that's so, then they have switched his blood type.
Yes, most definitely. Yeah, good. We need to figure that out.
Yeah.
And then Bobby's conclusion is that, this JR's the father of the baby and as low as you can get.
Banging his wife's sister.
Well, also HIPAA violation.
Right?
Like, Phyllis, bring me all the confidential files now. Like, come on.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
JR, you were banging your wife's sister. Little do you know, Bobby, that he raped his wife's sister.
Right? Very true. Very true. Then we cut to Bobby getting a great parking spot drink on his way to meet Faraday to give him the money. But Faraday, I don't understand these meetings because they keep having meetings where they're having the same conversation over and over. Where Bobby's like, I want to see the baby. He's like, you'll see the baby. Just give me the money. And then he just keeps giving him more money. And so finally,
oh look, another cliche situation.
There's another clitoris going on.
There's always another clitoris.
There's always another clitoris.
Stan, you must find the clitoris.
There it is. I knew somebody would get the South Park reference.
Oh. So they're going to meet tomorrow at the medical center at noon for tests to prove that this so-called baby that we have not seen matches what's in the birth certificate. Footprints, blah, blah, blah.
Is the real baby. Is that,
yes.
All the footprints and the blood type matches. It's the same baby.
And if it's a match.
Which is, I guess, a pretty good idea.
If it's a match, Faraday will get an extra $5,000 for a total of $30,000 in exchange for the kid, and he'll get the hell out of Dallas. And he might throw in some diapers too.
Yeah, he might.
So generous.
He's like, okay, it's at noon, cool, because I'm going to book a 2 p.m. flight to get the fuck out of here. And Bobby's like, okay.
Yeah, and don't you bother coming back to this city ever again.
So we go to Southern Cross, where Arthur Elrod, Sue Ellen's lawyer, calls, and we hear the divorce hearing is in 2 weeks.
Can you come to my office tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. to discuss details, please?
Yeah, in person. Serious.
And scene. No.
And scene. And then Ellie is playing the piano all by her lonesome in the living room. And what is she playing?
The theme to Falcon Crest.
Dallas theme.
The Dallas theme, yes.
She's just kind of messing around, then all of a sudden she's playing the Dallas theme like, oh, now, that's so good.
I want to know, did Barbara do that on her own?
I bet she did. Yeah, I bet she was messing around and just did it. So good. So meta.
And you know who else played the piano very well in the South Fork living room was Josh Henderson, and there's some video of it out there in between takes on the new series.
Nice.
He would sit down at the piano inside and he would just tickle the ivories for everybody. Imagine being on tour,
fun.
taking a tour of the ranch, and there's Josh Henderson playing the piano. And
I would like that very much. I would like that to happen. Josh Henderson, please make that happen.
Yes. Yes.
So then Donna walks in and she's basically like, hey, Ray really needs to talk to Jock. Is there a way that can happen?
They were supposed to be at dinner that night, but Ray's in Braddock.
Right.
And Donna would rather have a brandy than coffee.
Yeah, she would. And then Miss Ellie concludes that, okay, Ray really is a Ewing because the Ewings totally have an inability to admit when they're wrong, which I think is funny. But Donna doesn't know what to do because then she's just like, he's competing with JR, he's competing with Bobby, and he's competing with her.
Yeah, that. And then Bobby comes in and says that Pam was depressed at dinner. And that just kind of, because they had suggested, Ellie suggested, well, what if Ray talked to Bobby? And then this kind of suggests Bobby's probably a little bit preoccupied right now. So
right. He's got his own shit right now.
Yeah, he's so preoccupied he's going up to bed.
Yeah. So Ellie volunteers to talk to Ray. And Anna's like, I don't know if it's going to help, but okay, I guess. Anything at this point.
Maybe Ray will listen to Mama because that's like the closest thing he's got to a mother these days.
Right.
And she even later refers to him as her son when she introduces him to Franklin Horner.
I know. I love that. And so we go to Elrod's office where Sue Ellen has come to talk. And dude, why is Sue Ellen dressed like a maid?
I thought she looked like a friggin' Puritan coming off the Mayflower without the little bonnet hat.
That Peter Pan collar thing was like more than a bit much. It was too much. It was a lot.
Yeah, I'm like, Sue Ellen, are you getting ready to go to Plymouth Rock? I mean, what's going on here?
She's going to go clean Plymouth Rock because it was somewhere between a Puritan and a French maid outfit. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. I have to dress pure as the driven snow to win this divorce hearing.
I actually wrote it was a Peter Pan collar from hell.
Oh no! I you went with Peter Pan, and I saw it. And I'm sitting there going, "What the friggin' we on the Mayflower?"
Well, no, that's what those are actually. Those are actually called Peter Pan collar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit of fashion. So Elrond is worried that JR, he was pretty easy during the first temporary custody trial, but he thinks he's gonna come way more hardcore on the next trial because he's been like fighting every step of the way.
Guns are blazing. Guns are going to be blazing.
Yeah. Right. And he's basically, and I feel like this describes JR in both situations. This is describing JR in the divorce, and this is describing JR in his current business dealings, where he's like, JR is dangerous when he's backed into a corner. If he feels like he's backed into a corner, he's going to turn into an angry badger. And so
honey badger,
don't be careful about that.
We know what they say about honey badger.
Right. And so this is good advice that I feel like we need to take the cartel aside and whisper that to them because they're just too busy twirling their mustaches to think about this.
Mustache twirl.
Jordan's too busy smoking his dope from his wife's cannabis garden.
He's too busy lighting up in his car. So that in New York City, So he's like, we just have things to figure out. I think they just have to determine how many shares they want out on the market. And, and a little detail, they're going to need this FCC's approval first. So, are your books sound? Because we have to make sure your books are sound. Jared's like, oh yeah, they're fine.
And what was the word they used? Prospectus. They have to write the prospectus.
Yes.
JR's a little shocked when he learns that it will take a couple months at the minimum.
Right. And he's like, earliest. Well, yeah, it'll be soon. A couple months. That is soon in this game is a couple months. And JR's just like, fuck. You can just see on his face where he's like, this is not the solution I was looking for.
That was supposed to be my Hail Mary, and it's turning into a Hail Satan. Right. Oh.
Yes. It's not going well. So he's just kind of basically by Felicia's Paul Winslow and walks out the door.
And Dusty is back from camping at White Ridge, and he's drinking some brewskis with his buddies.
He is. And we find out that the roundup went really well, so that's why they're drinking some brewskis.
So well that Dusty thinks he can do the next step.
The rodeo.
The rodeo.
The rodeo.
Drive. Rodeo Drive.
Do you guys remember? Who's seen D2 The Mighty Ducks? I mean, it's been a long time.
Me.
Oh my God.
I wouldn't admit it, but
I was too old for that one.
You guys, I'm sorry, you guys were in your 20s, weren't you? Well, there was this scene where they were in Beverly Hills, and one of them was like, "What is this rodeo drive?" That's the first thing I thought of.
That's so funny.
Rodeo?
Who was that called it a rodeo? I can't even remember.
I don't know.
It was from someone earlier in this episode.
Rodeo.
It's a rodeo.
It's a rodeo.
I think it was a business. Was it a business guy that JR was meeting?
It was.
Talking about it.
Yeah, something like that. So yeah, Dusty's gonna do the rodeo. Dun dun dun. And I just wrote, Dusty, you stupid son of a bitch. Settle it down.
Mm-hmm.
Take your little limp nope rope and shove it back in your pants and dial it down.
I am aghast. Sue Ellen is aghast. She's aghast at this whole thing. She's just like, you're gonna hurt yourself. What are you doing?
In her Puritan outfit.
It's not good. In her Puritan French maid outfit, yes. And then Ray comes to see Ellie. She wants to have a little heart-to-heart.
Well, isn't that special? We're going to have Ellie chat.
Yes, he does not want to do this.
No, he does it begrudgingly because it's Ellie.
Right, but it's Ellie, so she straight out asks him, like dead in the eye, and just says, do you not want to talk to me because you think it's a sign of weakness to talk about your problems with a woman? And Ray says, well, that's not it. Exactly. Which that exactly tells you that that's exactly what it is.
Right. If it says it's not, then it is.
But it's good because out spills all of his insecurities about not being good enough, and needing to prove himself to everyone.
Trying to measure up to Sam Culver, who Donna was married to before, but they were married for different circumstances. It's like comparing apples and oranges. It always comes back to apples and oranges, doesn't it?
It does. He doesn't feel worthy of Donna, which is just, I get like you're putting your wife on a pedestal, but that's like not good in a relationship because that just means that like you're kind of being shitty to her in the process of not feeling worthy. It's just not good. And he needs all the therapy.
It shines a spotlight on your insecurity complex, inferiority complex. That's it. Yeah.
A shining complex. He's like straight out and saying all of it.
It's turning the Aurora Borealis on him.
Right. And so then he finally tells Ellie exactly what, because she's like, no, I need to know exactly what the problem is and what the solve of it is. And so he tells her, like, I need $3 million. No.
He spills
and
the
then
tea.
She's just like, spills all the tea. And then she's like, well, would you accept it from me? He would accept that from her.
On the condition that they don't tell anybody and keep it
right.
Hush hush.
Keep it, between them two.
And this is going to drag this storyline to connect to another storyline later in the episode.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
And then we got to a really, really short, weird scene of JR just staring into space.
He's getting some of that Pam crazy eyes.
I was going to say that. He has a little Pam crazy eye happening.
Maybe the two of them could drive the crazy train together.
So it's rodeo time.
Rodeo time.
And I really like Sue Ellen's outfit here. It's like a two-piece, like yellow skirt, matching skirt top set with some high cowboy boots. I like them. I like it. It's nice.
A little color after the black and white Puritan outfit.
Yeah. It's good.
And John Ross is back at the Southern Cross with the maids.
I mean, it's really not a good place for a kid, probably.
Yeah, probably. It's pretty loud. He'd need those little headphones put over his ears.
It's loud. It's probably hot. He's going to get cranky and want to go, drunk and like want to go nap.
I've never been to a rodeo, but I would imagine there's a lot of beer.
That's like when I'm at a sports shoot. That's one of those all-day tournaments, and it's 100 degrees out, and I see these families bring their dogs on leashes to these all-day events, and they're out there in that heat. I'm going, I would rather leave the dog at home in the air conditioning than have the dog sitting out there getting cranky, being in the heat and panting all day.
Yeah.
It's like, just like the kid, leave him with the maid.
Yeah.
At the Crosby, Stills, and Nash song, The Southern Cross.
Anyway, so then Dusty draws a crowd. And then Clayton he whispers to Sue Ellen, like, you understand why he needs to do this, right? And, like, she gets it, but she's still not into it.
She's like, this is the beginning of the end.
Of the end.
This is it.
Yeah, for sure.
But she knew already. Like, I think she was just waiting for the right moment.
No. She didn't want to admit it to herself because she likes the whole situation.
So I want to know, like, is this midweek because, there's a rodeo going on and Sue Ellen's there, but also, here's Ray and Miss Ellie walking into a bank? Unless they called like a Saturday meeting.
True.
Yeah. But I mean, they're Ewings. They can probably get a private appointment on like a Saturday.
Unless it's the morning, because, I mean, banks are open Saturday mornings usually.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. Bobby checks in with Phyllis, who's working too. So it must be.
Yeah, that's true.
During the week.
It is
so they have a rodeo during the week. Okay.
Huh. That's a good point. That's a really good point.
A rodeo
This
during
is for
the crowd.
the serious rodeo people.
Yeah, it's like, let's just like knock off work and go to this rodeo.
Yeah,
cool.
And there was a good crowd skipping work at that rodeo too. Stands
There
were
really
full.
Was. Yep.
Yeah, Bobby
Those
does check in with
obviously
Phyllis.
like rodeo fans.
Yeah.
Yep.
Faraday will be there at the medical center in an hour, and Bobby won't be back to the office, and we'll call him later. Phyllis tells him that JR is flying home and will go straight to South Fork from the airport. Back to the rodeo.
Back to the rodeo, which I have to say, it's really weird because this footage of Dusty in the rodeo looks a whole lot like the footage that Dusty's been watching of himself on loop in his little Sunset Boulevard room.
Yep.
Weird. I think he's even wearing the same outfit. Same camera angles, everything.
But who's noticing? Because we're not going to be watching
I'm
this.
Noticing.
because who's going to notice? Because you're not going to be watching this 40 years later.
Right. No one's ever going to watch this episode ever again. So who's going to know?
Right.
It's just like, there's like some weird time travel thing happening or something. And then the announcer is like, and up here's Dusty Farlow. We didn't think we'd ever see him ride again. I guess he's more man than we are. Okay.
Except in the pants.
Goodness.
And Sue Ellen is concerned because the rider before Dusty fell off the...
Yeah, like bucked off, like pretty hard.
Yeah, right. And she realizes she's lost him once he does well in that ride. She's hoping, I think in the back of her mind, she's hoping he doesn't do well so he doesn't rejoin the rodeo.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but he does. He stays on the entire time, gets a score of 68 points.
Right. And he's wearing the number 9 on his back.
Yeah. And then we got to the bank where Ellie and Ray go to see Franklin Horner about borrowing the $3 million, which Franklin's like, so this is kind of awkward, but you don't have any money in the bank.
We're going to have to cue you in on what else is going on in another storyline here.
Right.
Have you heard what your son is doing? He's buying up all these renting out these tank farms and stockpiling all this oil, and the prices are dropping. And yeah, he's put up $50 million in collateral or Ewing assets, and
spills the tea because Ellie basically, he's like, I shouldn't say, and then Ellie just gives him like the mom eye, and then he's just like, okay, all right, I'll tell you everything.
We need to get a mop out there because there's a lot of tea being spilled in this episode.
Ellie gets pissed and worried. And then she's like, nope, we're still going to, like, I'll put up collateral to give you money, Ray. And Ray does not feel comfortable with that.
Ray won't hear of it.
And then we cut to Pam has taken a taxi back to South Fork. And like, was she supposed to leave? Because I don't think she was supposed to leave. I feel like she checked herself out, and that's not what anybody wants but her.
Yeah. And I mean, but can they keep her there at this point? Like, because
I don't know, they can't. But
I just have to say,
no one wants her.
This baby is not Eric Farlow, is it? This baby is different. This baby, I'm sorry, this baby is adorable. I love this baby. It
is adorable. I like Eric Farlow too. I think he's a cute baby.
He's a cuter toddler.
Even Patrick Duffy referred to him as the ugly baby.
No, Victoria.
Well,
that was Victoria.
Patrick Duffy, I think that they're wrong.
That was Victoria. She said it on a talk show. I was like, damn.
She did too? Because I had heard Patrick had said something too.
It was Victoria.
Wow,
she was like, why? Because he was an ugly baby. Ha ha ha. And it was like, oh shit.
I think he's a cute baby. I like his little curly hair.
And his face went like whenever he'd start to cry.
Yeah.
I can imagine, is Dr. Conrad trying to track down Bobby off camera to let him know that Pam has checked herself out of the hospital?
Probably, but yeah, I would imagine she probably would be. But he's kind of gallivanting around.
Yeah, he's out traipsing with Faraday at the moment.
Traipsing and gallivanting.
And I like the little sign on the side of the taxi. It's just one of those cheap signs that was made along with Cliff's campaign posters.
A marker and some tape. Yeah.
Good times.
And then we cut to the doctor's office, and the nurse brings out the baby, and she's just like, so... Mr.
Shepherd.
Right. I don't know why you didn't think this was your real baby. Think about that. Like, I feel like the doctor's office needs to have some follow-up questions, or like they're coming there to be like, I think there was a mix-up at the hospital and maybe this isn't our real baby. What?
That's a terrible story. Can't you just be like, you know what? Me and my wife are going through a divorce, and like, I need to know all this medical stuff about the baby. Like, this is my kid. What's his blood type? Blah, 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 blah. Like, that's a better cover story.
Right. Then, like, I think they were switched at the hospital. I don't know.
Or, true story, I found out I was the father of this baby because my girlfriend or whatever died. He's got the birth certificate, father unknown. Can we find out if I'm the father? That kind of thing. Like, can you eliminate me? And then when Bobby finds out he's not, when Bobby's like, also I'm not type B blood, but whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I guess I'm not the father. Oops. Come on, baby Christopher.
Whoops. I guess we're leaving now. No, then they call the police. Like, that's a terrible story. I know. Well, and they're just like, fine. They're like, okay, I guess here's.
But then again,
because nobody's going to be analyzing this 40 years later. So just accept it and move on.
We do eventually find out who Christopher's father is.
We do.
Well,
we do we do, but I say, I don't want to spoil anything. I feel like there's still, like, if the series had kept going now, you could easily take a DNA test to find out for sure who his father was. And it could be a different person than they thought. And
now he hands the baby over to Bobby with a flimsy car seat that is put in the front seat facing forward.
But that's what car seats were back then. My first car seat was junk.
And it doesn't look like it's even... I don't think we even see them buckle the seatbelt in on camera.
We don't. It hurt every fiber of my motherly being, but I think that's just how things were done in 81. But holy shit, that kid would be dead if anything happened.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because now you have these ones that they latch in with the things under the seat and this, and they're secured. And
I have to be in the back seat. Like, I don't even know if he'd be able to legally ride in that car nowadays.
And they have to be, they can't be facing forward. They have to be facing back.
Yep.
So it's like, every red flag was going off there. And he throws in some diapers and formula. What a nice guy.
Yep. And says that he likes chicken and carrots.
Okay, I'm sorry. Who else besides a father would know that shit? Don't let him eat too much. It's like, oh, okay, stranger taking care of this baby. I won't let him eat too much.
Stranger danger. What are you drinking this evening? Anything interesting?
This is a lager called Lake James Rind. They make I think there's a lime and a rind, which is this is supposed to be like watermelon rind. And I had the craft beer shop, they sell them. It's made by Fonta Flora Brewery. And it's a real, like, light pool drinking kind of beer. And I had it this is probably not the politically correct term, but I first tried this beer as a quote unquote Mexican ashtray. And I think there is probably a different term for it, which I need to Google, and I probably should Google because I don't feel like that's a good, like, PC term for it. But it's literally like some spicy stuff that goes around the rim and a little bit of hot sauce in the beer can.
Ooh.
I want to say, okay, now I'm curious. What is that? Okay, I was telling Josh about my beer and how I first tried it and what it was called. And it's called I know it as a Mexican ashtray, but I don't think that is the correct. Okay, the dirty ashtray. It's also known as a dirty ashtray.
That's like a dirty Sanchez.
Yeah, it's made with like hot sauce and some spices, and you usually make it with just like a lager, like maybe it can be any kind of lager.
So Sue Ellen is still uncomfortable with Dusty's success in the next scene.
And then, okay, Bobby calls Donna, and Donna, I love this scene because Donna is totally day drinking white wine. I wrote, get it, girl.
Should we drink too? Because she's drinking.
She's sitting there day drinking white wine. Sure.
Do we drink anytime someone else is drinking? No, we would need
we
need new livers.
But Bobby is basically like, hey, can you get my mama out of the house around 5 so I can confront JR about this baby?
He doesn't tell Donna what
he doesn't say about the
her.
baby. He doesn't tell about the baby, but he just wants to confront JR about something. And she's just like, oh, okay, you want to confront JR? Sure, I'll do it. And then he says, okay, Christopher, let's go meet your real daddy.
Back to the rodeo.
Back to the rodeo.
Back to the rodeos. Sue Ellen is ending it because Dusty belongs on the rodeo circuit, and she thinks that she's a reminder of his one failure. Such harsh.
Yeah, she basically breaks up with him.
And then he gets pulled back into his crowd.
Yeah, he does but he seems upset at first, and then she's just like, tell me if you belong in the rodeo. And like, I'm just a reminder of your quote unquote one failure, and you need this, and I can't be a part of this. Tell me I'm wrong. And he's just like, oh, I can't do that. So then he literally gets pulled away by his entourage.
That is rude as fuck, by the way. Like, they're breaking up and they're just like, hey, woo! And I'm just like,
right?
The fuck? Go.
And Dusty,
go away.
Dusty lets it happen.
He's
too.
like, oh, we'll talk later.
Like, okay.
And Swan's like, I made the right decision.
Yeah,
right.
we won't
like,
talk
she's
later.
upset, but
Bye-bye.
it's like, nope.
She's just left there crying. Like, she's literally crying, and the crowd's like, okay, we're taking him away. Oh.
We're taking away party time. Woo! You're free. Woohoo! And we come to the concluding scenes.
Donna and Ellie are leaving South Fork, getting into Donna's car, and they're pondering why men are so stubborn as they're about to leave South Fork.
But Donna, it was interesting. They were talking about Ray not accepting the money from Ellie, and Donna has known all along because of her intuition, and
because she's not stupid.
Ray has to come to her. She can't offer,
and she knows that. That's so dumb. And they think it's dumb. They're like, it's so dumb because it is.
El stupito.
And so they are leaving as JR's pulling in, and Ellie's like, stop. I need to talk to JR. So I'm gonna bail out of this. And you can see, like, Donna's like, I'm supposed to take you away. But she can't say that. And so Ellie just gets out of the car, and then Donna's like, well, I tried, and drives away.
Donna should have floored it and peeled out with the screeching tires. No, Ellie, you're not getting out of this car.
So then Ellie walks in to South Fork living room as JR's making himself a drink, and she immediately puts on like a mean mom voice. Like, she's like, JR Elizabeth, you're going to sit and listen to me.
JR Elizabeth. I I've seen that in other like fandoms and stuff, like, you know, J.R. Elizabeth Ewing.
Elizabeth. Exactly. You're going to sit down and listen to your mother.
John Ross, Elaine Ewing.
Elaine Cumberbatch Ewing. No.
John Ross, Carol, and
When you're
Ewing.
breaking out all those names, there must be trouble.
Oh, you know there's trouble. And JR knows he's in trouble. And then at that moment, Bobby pulls up with baby Christopher. And
Talk about ADR, voiceover dialogue here, because it sounds like Bobby's doing a major voiceover.
Oh, yeah. And he says, let's see what JR has to say about having another son to raise. And to this, I say, what? What the fuck? At this moment, I realize Bobby really has no plan besides just confronting JR with the kid. Like, what are they going to do with the kid? He doesn't know. Like,
JR's not going to take care of the kid.
JR's not going to take care of the kid.
No,
like,
he's never changed a diaper in his life. Somebody is going to have to take care of that kid.
Where's Jocelyn Brando? Can she come back?
He literally has no plan. He's just using a baby to, like, make his brother mad or whatever.
And he doesn't know it yet, but, like, literally, did he not pass Donna on the way in? Like, as she was leaving, did he not notice that his mother wasn't in the car?
No, because they had already left.
Oh, okay.
So they would have just missed each other, I think. He would not have known.
Because, like, the minute he walks through the door, he's like, oh, shit, she was not supposed to be here.
Right. He's just like, oh, he hears them arguing, but he doesn't have long to think about it because
here comes Pam!
Crazy Pam is just all, like, loses her goddamn mind.
Bobby,
and he's just like,
you got a baby! I mean, that's what she needed, apparently, but, I mean, it's not realistic because she's not suddenly cured. In real life, you would not be suddenly cured like that. But
not at all. Not at all.
Pam is like,
if that baby can cure all of her problems, then that baby needs to be known as a medical drug or have some medical degree right out of the womb.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's just, Bobby, you got us a baby. And you could just see Bobby's face like, oh, shit, I fucked all of this up. Oh, what did I do? And so it's just a freeze frame on Bobby's like face where he realizes he's made a terrible mistake. And we have to drink twice because it's not a freeze frame of JR.
All the things that could go wrong went wrong. Ellie was not out of the house.
Nope.
Pam was home. Where did she come from?
Oh boy. Right. What the
Bobby,
heck?
if you were in the office, Dr. Conrad would have called you.
His plan did not go as planned.
His plan has been foiled. And scene.
Unseen. So I give this 4.35 bourbons because I think a lot of the episode is like, but that end part where everything comes together / just falls apart is gold. And Pam losing her goddamn mind is, holy shit, is so entertaining. So I gave this 4.35 bourbons.
There's not much left to lose, is there?
And a psychotic baby rant.
And I went with a 4.5 because I like how Donna and Ray's issue is what brought Ellie, clued her into what was going on with JR. So it starts to intertwine here a little bit more. And then, of course, Pam at the end, the whole thing with, and now we have Christopher.
Now we have Christopher, officially a character.
So I give it a 4.5 and a throw in some diapers.
I did 4.75 bourbons and many HIPAA violations. Many.
Lovely.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And we did not see Lucy in this episode.
No, we did not.
We did not have a throwaway scene with Mitch.
No.
Working out. So we never found out, at least in this episode, what Mrs. Rogers and her daughter and the whole thing going on in the doctor's office was all about.
We did not. Yep.
And next week, we hope Sarah will obviously be taking a taxi back to our podcast and pull up with her luggage.
Yes, for sure.
As we talk about Waterloo at South Fork.
Waterloo at South
Episode 88.
Yeah. And in the meantime, you can join us on our Facebook group, our Ewing BBQ.
If you answer all of the membership questions.
Right. If you're going to join, just answer the questions so we know that you're not a bot, because we've been getting a lot of bots lately and I'm not letting them in. So come and join us. We have a lot of fun discussions. We have fun memes and I don't know, just a lot of good Dallas content. And
do we still
also
have the
have
merchandise?
An Instagram. We still do have merchandise. Yep. That is, you can go to bit.ly/Ewing BBQ merch, or if you just go to your show notes, you can see the link and click on it, and it'll take you to our merch. We have some cool like hoodies and t-shirts and mugs. I have a coffee mug that I've been using like almost daily that I really like. It's a really nice.
I took a mug
one.
I took a mug with an offensive logo, and I put our sticker over it. So
stickers,
it's now a Ewing,
because we have stickers as well.
So it's now a Ewing Barbecue podcast mug that I made on my own with the sticker.
There you go. Yeah. You can DIY it. We also have a Twitter. So if you do the Twitter, you can join us on there. That's BBQ Ewing. And of course, the Patreon. So we will see you there, or we will see you next time. Until then, bye.
And we'll take a moment to remember Jim Davis, whose birthday would be August 26th. And y'all come back now, you hear?
Have a good night, y'all. I got nothing witty to say. I don't.
All right.
All right. Oh, giggity. There you go.
All right.
JR, we've got to talk. JR, we've got to talk.
JR Elizabeth.
Oh, wait.
Cecilia.
JR Elizabeth Cecilia. Keep going.
Oh,
we gotta keep going with that.
Catherine. Mary. Joseph.
Cumberbatch.
Paul.
Cumberbatch. Ewing. Get your ass down here.
Junior. Get down here.
Or as my sister's mother-in-law would say, get your rosy red rectum down here.
Grab it.
Next on Dallas.
I'm going to win custody of my son if I have to drag his mother through the mud.
You do realize, of course, that the Ewing name might be dragged with her.
I don't want you persecuting that girl.
When I come home tonight, you're going to be real proud of me. I have the witnesses and the depositions to prove that you're a tramp, a drunk, and an unfit mother.
You wouldn't do that.
Wouldn't I? Now, you know me better than that. I want my boy back, and I'm going to get him. And I don't care what it takes or who I have to break to do it.
Then you're going to have to break me, JR.